we are. School of Design is bringing a series of webinars under spatial domain or spatial design domain. This is the first of its series, and I welcome you all I'm looking forward to a good evening. May I now bring on Professor Sasi Menon, Dean, School of Design, to start the event with a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well and keeping safe. This is a very important point for us at the School of Design because we are reimagining ourselves, we are reconfiguring our programs, and we want to bring in what is most contemporary in today's scenario in the industry and what is most appropriate for students to learn. And with that in mind, one of the things that we are doing at the school is to look at all our programs in terms of domains that are there in the industry. So in the domain of space, we have various courses like interior design, interior architecture. We'll be adding more courses in the mix. And with that as a sort of backdrop, we thought of starting a few webinars which are in each of the domains as we go along from now on. And I'm very happy to have the first in the series happening today. And what better way than to start with one of our own graduates, Yukti Bhatia, who studied at the School of Design at Sushant. And it's amazing to have someone like Yukti here as the first guest on the show, so to say. And I hope that we'll have a good, with some very good inputs from her, and everybody can go back with something great and look at how to take this ahead. So I welcome everybody once again, and I welcome Yukti in specifically, and thank you very much. And over to you, Tapasya, for the session.
Thank you, Professor Menon. Thank you. Very excited again being part of the interior design fraternity at School of Design to have a graduate or a alumni, Yukti Bhatia, who terms herself as a plant enthusiast, but I think she's much more than that. Yukti, after graduating in 2015 at Untitled University, went on to Middlesex University at London to pursue a master's in MA in arts management. So when we asked her how she got on to between interior design and arts management, how she got into landscape designing, she mentioned that she happened to notice a dump area when she was beginning her practice next to her house, which she beautifully converted into a landscaped area, and that inspired her to take on with plants, and there's no looking back. She formed a company with her partner Yukti Bhatia called Talking Walls. She's also dipped into a bit of teaching at JD Institute of Design as a faculty in interior design. The company has done a lot of projects in residential and commercial spaces, but their specialization is dealing with plants and dealing with environment, which blurs the line between indoors and outdoors. So, I'm sure this is a very relevant subject of discussion for many of us when we are quite literally stuck inside our homes or with our minimal balconies and are craving for a piece of the sky and a piece of the outdoors. So welcome, Yukti. Thank you very much for being our first guest. And now I'm going to just hand over the podium or the mic to you, and looking forward to your talk. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Hope everyone's safe and healthy. And okay, so I'm not here to talk about something that's related to interiors or landscape design in general. It's something for anybody and everybody. It's basically like a hobby. And during these difficult times, we really need interesting things to do. So this is one of it. So most people think of houseplants as a way to beautify their spaces. But beyond aesthetics, having houseplants scattered around you, it helps in your emotional well-being. Plants are more than decor. And according to surveys, more than 70% people have found houseplants bringing them mental benefit, emotional benefits. Mentally, they're more at peace. So, you can include this in your daily activity now during lockdown, and you can see the change in yourself once you start doing that. So we start with the basic elements that we need when we are working around house plants. So these are very basic things that we need to understand. First of all is location. So where do you want your plant to be? What's the suitable area for it? Is it near a window? Is it some place that's absolutely dark? So you need to choose your plants accordingly. Then comes soil. Now, what is the type of soil that you need to use for your plant, depending on the area? And what all do you need to add to your soil? For example, there's something called coco pit. I'm not sure if a lot of people know about it. It's basically fiber made out of coconut husk, and it keeps the plant cool. You don't have to water the plant every day. So these are small, small things that you need to add to, make your plant live longer, and you don't have to worry about it all the time. Then coming to surface. Now, do you want your plant to be hanging from the ceiling? Is it a tabletop plant? Is it a huge planter kept near your couch? So what's the surface? How high is the plant going to be? Then coming to boundaries. Now, what is the density of the plant? How much space is it going to occupy? It should not disturb any other element that's present near your area. It should not, if you're sitting on a couch, your plant shouldn't come right in front of you. So you need to set specific surfaces and areas and boundaries to have that. Then sunlight, one of the most important factors. There are a few indoor plants that work without sunlight. There are a few that thrive better with sunlight. So you need to choose your plant accordingly, and you need to choose your space accordingly for them to grow better. Then coming to planting design. Just like any other design, whether it's furniture, whether it's furnishings, you need to set the design accordingly. Now, do you want your plant to be your focal point of the room, or you just need it to help highlight some beautiful console? So set it up accordingly, that help your needs and requirements. Then coming to lighting. Lighting is an essential element for any space, and it helps you highlight your green areas. So you can have focus lights. You can have lights, hanging from the ceiling that create that botanical vibe in a corner of the room. Now, plant styling, coming to residential and commercial space, wherever you want it to be. Plants basically help you enrich space. They increase quality of life, and they soften the contemporary environment and help you reconnect with nature more. From residential to commercial spaces, you can create your own, you can design your own savvy botanical solution, you may call it. Now, just a few pointers. Now, how do you want your plant to be? Now, if you see the first image here, on the table, we have a set of 3 planters, one a little bigger than the other 2. Do you want something like that, or you want one plant that has a lot of density in it just to create that focus? Or you want to, mix and match patterns and textures and colors and create a beautiful area? Then coming to hydroponics. It's one of the most interesting things that I learned while experimenting with plants. You can embrace it very simply. You can pair a simple, sizable plant with a clear, clean vase. You can try monstera leaves. These are called monstera leaves, and these are called money plants. So you can try monstera leaf or even money plant with its cutouts, simply cut out from a bigger plant. And the most interesting part of such planters is that it not only focuses on the leaves or the texture of that, but also the roots, which is very rare. And if you see this image, you can just, in the water, you can just put two fishes, and trust me, they don't die. I have experimented. So you can try something like that also. Geraniums, you must have seen these pictures a lot, but I'm sure not a lot of people know how to create it or maintain it. Creating it is a little difficult, but maintaining this thing is the easiest. So basically, when you make a plant, the basic thing that we need is, if it's a ceramic planter or a terracotta planter or even a plastic planter, you need a hole at the bottom of the plant for the excessive water to pass out and the roots to breathe properly. But with terrariums, we don't need such things. So we need a few things that help us create it: moss, charcoal, pebbles, soil, plants, and a jar. So you can take a glass jar. It's like a mini green world in its own. And you can have like a simple or an elaborate terrarium set in your area. It just adds a beautiful addition to your house, and it doesn't need a lot of attention. So the soil and the plant in the terrarium here, if you see this part, it you don't need to water it much. So the soil and plant in the terrarium, it releases moisture, which is captured in the glass around this area, and it trickles back to the soil, essentially watering itself. So just a few drops of water, and you don't have to water it until the soil is dry. So basically, like just once a week, and during winters, just once in 2 weeks, and it's going to be as healthy as it looks. Now, if you don't have a lot of space, on the table or somewhere else, you can do it on a wall also. So these pebbles, basically, they help the plant retain its coolness. And if you see here also, they don't have any holes for the water to pass out. Just this glass helps in maintaining their temperature. Now, how can you add different things that create that can help you with interesting material? Now you see something like this. This is called air plant, and it only needs air to survive. No water, no sunlight, nothing. So you can have interesting products in which you can just throw these plants, and you have to see the effect that it creates. You can also use different levels, something like this, where you have one significant plant in the middle and rest around the area. So after a point of time, you won't be able to see the planter. It's going to be a full green corner. Now, how can you add styles and interesting patterns through material? If you look at this image, this is just a spherical terracotta planter colored, and there's a ring here. So basically, you just put a creeper inside, and it takes the entire area on its own. You can just use different size pots, contemporary colors, and grouping of a few plants together in one pot, anything. So a container in which you put the plant also adds a lot to your space. So you have to be very sure about that. You can use ceramic glaze, you can use geometric patterns, you can use microfiber, terracotta pots. There are n number of materials that are present in the market today. Now you see the first image here. These are terrariums, so you don't need to water them. And who doesn't like hanging planters? You can use it to display, a captivating plant adjustment near a window or a glass door with a set of 3 or 4 or even just one planter in general. And bright light plants, they also strive through indirect light. So if your plant is inside a room and you have a huge window nearby, so it will help your plant grow better. So you can just put your windows to work at home for your house plants. But it is also very important to understand that if a plant is closer to a warmer environment, it has to be watered regularly, because the sunlight that comes to the plant makes the soil dry. So you need to check on the water, duration of the water that you put in the plant. Plants with utility. These are some very interesting furniture pieces. You can combine plants with essential products, benches, tables, anywhere. And it's a very visually appealing thing and visually soothing. Now, creating a focal point. Now, you see this image here. You see a hole right here. So you just water the plant. It takes the water that it requires, and the excessive water goes down the drain from here. There's a plate at the bottom of the table. You can remove it, and the excessive water just goes out. You see something like this? These are succulent plants, so they don't need a lot of water. They don't need very bright direct sunlight to grow. And again, we have glass here, so that helps them retain their moisture. Now imagine a center table, something like this, how beautiful it's going to look in your living room. Fish planters, these are one of my favorites because you can really experiment a lot with them. And here what it is, it's like pairing one indoor plant with another. You can create a theme using 2 or many plants in one pot. Just keep in mind that the plant that you choose to keep together should have the similar maintenance qualities, like the amount of water, the kind of light that they need, or the kind of soil that they need, and what are the fertilizers that are required, so that the entire planter can grow properly. And because it won't look nice, if one plant is dying, other two are thriving, it kills the purpose there. So you can place it at your entrance or a tabletop or anywhere for that matter. Plant stands. Now, plant stand or a grouping of plants, something like this, is called grouping of plants. It can help anchor the room. It can provide a visual focal point to your room. They give height, allowing for a display of plants closer to a sitting area or near a piece of furniture or somewhere. And you don't need anything if you have a focal point like this. Creating your own jungle. Now, foyer areas are not just about consoles and mirrors anymore. We can do so much. You can create your own mini jungle. There are plants suitable for any and every space. Imagine coming down from the stairs every day and looking at this. How happy is it going to make you? Similarly, when you enter the house, if you see here, there's a window. There's a ceiling window here. So it gives them indirect sunlight also. And because the area is huge, it lets the plants breathe. So, you can create an entire area. Instead of a furniture, you can just put plants. going to naturally enhance your mood. Can we have the poll questions?
Abhishek sir, can we please have the poll questions?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a fun activity that Yukti organized for all of you. So you answer the questions, we'll see how many of you got them right, how many of you got them wrong, and then she'll educate us a little bit about those plants and questions, whatever she's asked. So Abhishek sir, first question please. So the first question is, which of these are a flowering plants? So everyone, if you could answer. Abhishek sir, we can share the result.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Yukti, so everyone says that peace lily is the answer. So if you would want to tell us what is the right answer and give us. Great. So can you tell us a little more about it?
So peace lily is the only flowering plant that thrives indoor, because usually flowers need sunlight. This is the only plant that doesn't. Its flowering season lasts from October to February, and these plants, they don't need a lot of maintenance. They don't need direct sunlight to grow, and they're very easy to maintain.
Perfect. Thank you. Abhishek sir, second question, please. So our audience knows their plants well.
Yes,
So the second question is, which of these plants spread their seeds on water? I think I've got this wrong, so you will have to explain to us what this actually. So we've got the answer. The answer is okay. People are still answering, so maybe we can wait for a few more.
Oh, people know about their plants, I feel.
That's a great thing. Yeah, so the answer that wins is water lily. So is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. So water lily is a hydroponics, just like money plant and monstera. The only difference between monstera and water lily is that water lily only thrives in water. It needs direct sunlight. It has to be outdoor, and it's a very slow growing plant. But you need to plant a minimum of 10 leaves together for it to grow. If you want to see the flowers.
All right. Thank you for the trivia. Abhishek sir, third question, please. Which of these are not flowering plants?
Yeah.
So we have a close call over here. It's almost a 50-50 answer we have here. Okay, so we have a tie here with the ZZ and the proton. So What is the right answer?
So there are two right answers here. ZZ and Signonium. Proton
All right.
is outdoor plant. It thrives only in direct sunlight. So there are very few trees that give out flowers, but they do. ZZ plant is an indoor plant. It can grow in a darker area also. You can, put it bathroom or any dark storeroom also, and it's going to thrive. So yeah, they don't have flowers. Similarly, signoniums, they work indoor and outdoor both. Obviously they grow better outdoors, but they also work in dark areas. So ZZ and signonium is the right
All right. Thank you. Abhishek sir, the fourth question, please. How does a plant get water from the soil? So this is
answer.
class
This is
6
easy.
or class 7 science. So let's see how many of us know our science well. So I think everyone's going to get this right. Oh, there are some who say through the stem as well. So is it always the roots, or are there some exceptional plants which have other ways of giving the
It's not.
water?
There are obviously there are exceptions, but it's either through roots, majorly through roots, 1 or 2% through leaves.
All right. And how is that?
Um, it's a very similar process. Then we water the plant, we water the mud. It directly goes to the roots. But there are a very few plants that need to be watered, like the entire plant, and the leaves take the water inside. So they don't have very prominent stems.
All right.
Now,
Great.
something like water lily, you don't see
Hmm.
the stem of the plant, you just see the leaves. Water, like
Yeah,
it's in water.
correct.
The leaf gets water, so yeah. But that's
Awesome.
a very rare case scenario.
Abhishek sir, can we have the next question?
This is also a very easy one.
So what are leaves for? So I think everyone's got this answer absolutely correctly.
Yeah, but I would like to add something.
Yeah, please.
Leaves also protect the plant from overwatering. There are a few plants in which the leaf absorbs the excessive water. Mostly excessive water plants, the leaves turn yellow. If you see the leaves are yellow, that means overwatering. But there are a lot of plants where they
Yukti, can you say that again? The last line, I think we weren't able to hear you.
yeah. So I'm saying that if your plant leaves turn yellow, that means it's excessive water and the plant might die if you don't take care. But there are a few plants where the leaf they absorb the excessive water and they don't turn yellow. They help the plant be healthy by taking most of the excessive water.
That's an interesting fact. So the last question for the evening, Abhishek sir, can we have it please? Which of these plants don't need sunlight to grow? Yukti, we have a 45 at snake plant and a 41 at money plant. So if you could tell us the right answer.
The right answer is snake plant. Snake plant can grow in a dark room also. But money plant, it can, it won't die if there's no sunlight, but it grows better with sunlight.
All
If you,
right.
even if you put, like if you create a hydroponics, if you put money plant in water and keep it in a cellar, it's going to be absolutely fine. It won't die. But snake plants, they grow better without sunlight.
Okay, so they won't do well if they're kept outdoors.
No. They do well, they don't die, but it grows better if there's no sunlight, if you keep it.
All right. So we end our poll questions here, and over to you, Tapasya ma'am.
Thank you, Yukti. And I think this was, your formations that you were showing were very impossible to achieve. But I wanted to, till we get to the questions asked by the audience, I just wanted to check with you quickly. Any of the projects where you had implemented an extraordinary idea and you were extremely happy about it, would you like to share an experience? Till then, I'll just kind of pull up the questions from the audience.
All of them are a task, honestly. First 2 years, every landscape project that I did was difficult and interesting at the same time. So I think my first project that I did was there was a chest of drawers, and in each chest there was a herb growing. That was my first project, and that was the most interesting project. Usually wood and water, they don't go well together, and plants need water, especially herbs. And so I had to place the chest of drawers. It was a huge chest of drawers that had to be placed, at the corner of the garden. And we obviously need good sunlight for the herbs to grow. So what we did was that we took a very old antique chest of drawers from a flea market, and we obviously there were so many coats of solutions that had to be put for them to be okay, and we had to. So the only basic thing that was interesting was that it was a hands-on project. So me and my partner, we did it on our own. Every drawer that was there, we had to put a plastic sheet, had to manage holes in them. And so what happens is when you create a planter, you have to put the mud, all the fertilizers, khads, and vermicompost and all these things. You have to put it, and then you have to water it and leave it for 2 days. If there are insects and everything, so you get to know before putting in the seeds. So it was a 1 week long process, and after leaving the fertilizers and everything for a week, for 3 days, we'd put the seeds. We used to take care of it like a baby, and the result was amazing. Like the entire chest, it came out so beautifully. So yeah, that was the most interesting project.
Most of us have a bias for the first child, if I'm not wrong. So maybe. But yes, tougher projects are always more fun. So there are a couple of questions. I'll start taking them, quickly. There's one of the guests in the list. They haven't identified themselves. They're asking, how do you maintain glass planters when growing money plants or monstera leaves?
You have to clean it from time to time because the water gets dirty. So what happens is when you take a plain clear vase, you put the money plant. It's a very tiny hack that you can do. Just add 2 to 3 little cubes of sugar. So what happens is helps you maintain the purity of the plant. It helps the water also to be pure for a longer span of time. But you should always change the water in 10 to 15 days.
Okay. So if this is refined sugar, is it the common refined sugar, white sugar?
The sugar that we use in our tea.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's a great tip. One of our students, Divya Arora, is asking, do plastic pots hamper the growth of plants?
The ceramic pots, so basically it depends on the weather. The ceramic planters and terracotta planters, the only benefit is that it helps keep the plant cool. Plastic takes a lot of heat, so the soil gets dry quickly. The fertilizers, they start to, the fertilizers stop working after a point of time if you use plastic pots. And of course, environment friendly is one of the most important things. They're not environment friendly, so I wouldn't suggest that you take plastic pots with them. And they don't look good also. Like if you have to use it indoors, I think the look that a ceramic or a terracotta planter does, plastic planters, they don't give that kind of look.
Okay, great. Another question from one of our guests. What is the ratio of cocoa peat to soil? I think they mean for an ideal plant mix. What is the ratio of cocoa peat to soil?
What happens when you buy a cocoa peat? It's a dry coconut husk. You have to take the entire thing, put it in water and break it. Leave it for a few hours outdoors to dry. Then you don't have to mix it with soil or fertilizer. You just have to put it on top of the soil. So when you water the plant, it goes to the soil, but the cocoa peat also retains it. So whenever the plant is in need of it, slowly it goes down towards the soil and the roots.
Okay, so it's basically a moisture retainer and mostly used as a top layer. I hope that answers your question. Nan is asking a question. What are the plants that are recommended for indoors? A few names that you can suggest for improving oxygen levels. I think need of the hour, oxygen levels.
Snake plant is known for increasing oxygen levels. It's, I think, the lowest maintenance plant that you will ever see. And it can thrive in any area, a dark room, whatever. There was a question, so I just explained why snake plants, they grow better indoors without any sunlight. And yes, they give out oxygen. Other than snake plant, we have Dieffenbachia and Aglaonema. These two plants give out oxygen as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Again, Divya has another question. She's asking, are succulents good for indoors?
Succulents are indoor plants only. They don't need sunlight. They don't need a lot of water, and they thrive in cool areas. So yeah, so you will see succulents mostly to go to hill stations and all these areas because they grow better there. Places like Delhi, because of the heat and the moisture that it creates, it's very difficult to maintain succulents.
Okay. Just an extension to this question, are succulents even okay with air conditioners? Because most of our urban indoors have air conditioning. Do succulents thrive even with air conditioners on?
You should place it, at an area where there's like the vents are directly at the plant. But they work well indoors, so it doesn't matter if it's an AC area or whatever. They work.
Great.
They just need a lot of attention.
So they don't need much watering, but they need a lot of TLC. Is that what you mean?
So, one of the reasons succulent plants are a little more expensive than other indoor plants is because it's very difficult to maintain them.
Okay. All right. One of our younger students, first year, Soumya Saxena, is asking, how often do we need to water a snake plant and different Bhatia. I don't know if I pronounced it right. Yeah.
Dieffenbachia.
Yeah, different Bhatia.
So Dieffenbachia needs watering every 2 days during summers and every 4 days during winters. Snake plant, on the other hand, it works well, if you water it once in 5 days also.
In any weather.
In any weather, yeah.
Okay, great. That's good. One of our colleagues from SSPD, School of Planning and Design, Thiali, she's asking what is the ideal temperature for succulents like Echeveria, and what should be the watering cycle? Should it be placed outdoors?
Succulents, they should be directly under sunlight. If you want to place them outdoor, it has to be, under a shade. Watering, I would personally advise to put a layer of coco pit on top of the soil, and you water it only when you see that the soil is dry. So you need to touch the plant and see how dry it is, and then water it. With succulents, there are two ways of watering. Either you just spray water, because you should not put water directly into the plant. It will not survive. Either you spray it, or if it's a small planter, you can take it and dip it in a small container that's full of water, so that just the roots are wet and the plant doesn't get affected. Because basically the root here needs water. The plant does.
So you mean we submerge the planter into another water can and then we remove it and keep it? Okay, great. That's a good tip. Again, there is a question from Thiali where she says that she often struggles with tiny black ants creating nests in her lucky bamboo plant, which is placed in a bowl of water. So can you explain why that happens and how to avoid? Sorry?
Could you just repeat that question?
Okay, so she says that she has an issue with tiny black ants making nests in her lucky bamboo plant, which is inside a bowl of water. And she's asking why does this happen? If you can explain to her, and how can she avoid it?
This is happening because maybe the water has some calcium. So you need to change the water. You need to clean the container, the vase of the bamboo plant, and you can add a little bit of baking soda to it. So baking soda, basically it acts like fertilizer, you can say, and it keeps all the insects away.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Soumya. How do you grow a hairy palm in one certain way and restrict it from spreading unevenly or unaesthetically? Like she wants to control the growth of this plant. How can that happen?
Which one?
Hairy palm, she says.
Oh, okay. So if you need to control the growth of any plant, that works only with cuttings. So what happens is when you bring a plant home, it's a new environment for the plant as well. So plants, they react differently in different areas. So when you bring a plant and you need to grow it in a certain pattern or something, so you need to keep cutting it until the plant memorizes its shape.
Thank you for that tip. Menon has a question. Professor Menon is asking if plants be equivalent to pets.
Yeah, they're better than
I think that's personal. I think that's personal, Professor Menon. Yeah. Okay, so our guest has identified herself. This is Sanya. She says there are a lot of metal planters out there which are aesthetically very pleasing. So what's your take on that? Do you recommend them? You don't recommend them?
metal planters are new to the market and they're really in. The only thing is with metal planters, you need to, it's just an outer surface. So you can't grow a plant there because during summers it's going to dry out badly and it's going to die. So what you can do is even watering. So the aesthetic look of that planter is going to go away when you water the plant. So the best way to use a metal planter is that you put a terracotta planter inside that, and you can take it out whenever you have to water it, let it dry, let the lower part of it dry, and then keep it back in the metal planter. Also, what you can do is you can take a plastic sheet and create holes in it and place it inside the metal planter and put the terracotta planter inside after that. So there are 3 layers. So there's area for the plant to breathe also.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Again, Professor Bose is asking, how do you take care of a moon cactus?
Cactus. Cactus is the only plant that doesn't need care. You can keep it inside a wardrobe also and it's going to be fine. You don't need to water it. You have to water it again. It's just like succulents. You don't have to water it until and unless it's very dry.
Okay, interesting. Professor Menon has a second question. How easy is it to install a drip irrigation system in indoor spaces, and what are the challenges in maintaining them?
So drip irrigation system is majorly for vertical planters, and vertical planters, they go well in your balconies and all these areas where there's indirect sunlight and there's air passing through. For indoor planters, we can do drip irrigation if we want, but the only thing is the pipe that the irrigation plant has is it's of a standard dimension. The only problem that we face is that after a point of time you see calcium deposits, and the plant and the pipes, they either they burst or they just get rotten because of that. So if you want to get it installed, you have to firstly check the calcium issues surrounding the water in your area, and you need to have a water purifier installed before getting the drip irrigation.
Ma'am, you're on mute. Ma'am, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Thank you, Aisa. That's a great tip. Most of us live with hard water these days, and we do face other kind of issues, but we never imagined that it would hurt our plants so much. So another question from one of our senior students, Dipanshi Khare, third year. She's asking, how can we take care of a poinsettia plant?
Sorry, which plant?
Poinsettia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Poinsettia, Poinsettia.
Can you repeat the spelling?
Poinsettia.
Yeah, so they basically work like money plants. They don't need a lot of care, but they need watering again once in 2 to 3 days, just like money plant or different backyards or any other plant. And they are outdoor plants. They will not die indoor, but they thrive better outdoors. And during winters, you should water them once in 3 to 4 days, and during summers, 2 to 3 days.
Right. I think we've come to the end of.
Ma'am, there is one more question in the Q&A tab.
It's the same question. How do you
Alright.
different backyard?
Alright.
Yeah. We've run through all the questions. Cannot thank you enough, Yukti, for really spending time with us and also walking us through the easy and tough tasks of nurturing plants like pets, like how Professor Menon mentioned. Any parting thoughts? Anybody who is now beginning, do you want to give them a little tip about where should they?
To give a small activity to everyone. Now that everyone's home, we can't do much. It's mentally, physically, emotionally very taxing. So I would like to tell everyone that starting from tomorrow, every morning when you wake up, start taking care of one plant. If you don't know a lot about that plant, you can Google the name. You can just put the picture on Google, the name comes, how to maintain that plant, everything comes automatically. And just start taking care of the plant. Don't overwater it. Don't let it dry. Just in moderation, everything. And once you start doing it every day, you will see how emotionally it has helped you after a week or so. So just try doing that and see the difference.
Excellent. People are thanking you on the chat box for an amazing and interesting session. Like I said, yes, I mean, it was very grounded. It was very, it was doable. I would say after looking at things and what you told us, all the tips, it seems very doable that, we don't have to Google for 10 plants you cannot kill or 10 plants that are tough to kill. We can actually take care of just about any plant. So great. Thank you so much for being here, Yukti. I thank Professor Menon for also chairing the beginning of the session and giving us interesting insight into the series which we are looking forward to. And lastly, thank you to our audience for making it interesting and interacting with our poll questions. And we'll love to host you again, Yukti, sometime soon. Right?
Thank you.
All right. Everybody, please take care. Yeah, please take care. Please indulge more in plants. Yeah, please stay safe. Please stay home and not plants. Talk to them. Maybe they will talk back to us sometime. All right. Signing off. End of the event.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Yukti. Thank you, Tapasya ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.